Namaskaram. Welcome to the second episode of the series where we are learning about Desika Charitram. We will start with Acharya Parampara Tanyan as always. Srinivasayati Shrestadaya Patram Gunanvitaha Kaushiko Anantarangaryaha Chiram Vijayatam Bhuvi Nyastatmiya Bharam Varapradaguro Vairagya Bhagyo Tadau Vedantamrita Saravantam Managhat Shri Srinivasat Guroho श्रीशैलाद्वयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयोनिधे श्रीनिधे वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेळिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णसद्देशिकं श्रीनारायणयोगीन्द्रवरदार्यकृपाश्रयं रङ्गेशपादविनतं श्रीनिवासमुनिं भजे श्रीवासरङ्गपरकालमुनित्रयाप्त लक्ष्मात्मरक्षणयति त्वयुगागमान्तम् आचार्यभक्तिपरिपूतमनर्घशीलम् गोपालदेशिकमुनिम् गुरुम् आश्रयामः वेदान्तदेशिकयतीन्द्रकटाक्षलब्धत्रय्यन्तसारमनवद्यगुणम् बुधाग्रयम् नारायणाध्ययति तुर्यकृपाभिषिक्तम् श्रीरङ्गनाथयतिशेखरम् आश्रयामः श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्य कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि रामानुजदया पात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणम् श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकम् சீரொன்று தூப்புல் திருவேங்கடமுடையான் பாரொன்று சொன்ன பழமொழியுள் ஓரொன்று தானே அமையாதோ தாரணியில் வாழ்வார்க்கு வானேர போமளவும் வாழ்வு பிரணாமம் லக்ஷ்மணமுனி பிரதிகிருஹ்ணாது மாமகம் பிரசாதயதி யத் சூக்திः स्वाधीनपतिकां श्रुतिम् सह धर्मचरीं शौरेः सम्मन्त्रितजगद्धिताम् अनुग्रहमयीं वन्दे नित्यमज्ञातनिग्रहाम् कमप्याद्यं गुरुं वन्दे कमलागृहमेधिनम् प्रवक्ता छन्दसां वक्ता पञ्चरात्र्यस्य यः स्वयं गुरुभ्यः तद्गुरुभ्यश्च नमो वागमधीमहे वृणीमहे च तत्रात्यौ दम्पती जगदाम्पती. Seeking the blessings of the entire Acharya Parampara up until the Divya Dampati, we start with this episode. In the last video, we saw the story of Swami Deshikar from his birth to his marriage, the birth of his son Kumara Varadacharya, Swami's Sakshatkaram of Garudalvar, Hayagrivar, and we also had the opportunity to enjoy incidents from Swami's life that brought out his Vairagya. It is indeed a Herculean task to bring together all the events from Swami's life. Hence, in today's episode, we will see a few more facets of Swami and enjoy a few more incidents based on Acharya Kataksham. So, in the last episode, we saw that Swami continued to live in Kanchipuram, enjoying Perarulalan and composing so many stotrams and prabandhams. In today's episode, we will start by looking at what turn of events took place in Srirangam while Swami continued to be in Kanchipuram. So while Swami continued to be in peace in Kanchipuram, in Srirangam, there was once a band of Mayavadis who landed in Srirangam for a debate condemning Ramanuja Darisanam. Periyavachan Pillai, Pillai Lokacharya, and others resorted to the grand old master Sudarshana Bhattar for advice. And Sudarshana Bhattar immediately said that the person who can handle all of this is none other than Desikan, and a letter was sent to Kanchipuram inviting Swami Desikan to immediately set his foot forward to Srirangam. Swami immediately on receiving the letter, of course received in palm leaves, on the way visited Sri Perambuttur to seek the blessings of Ramanujar. It is then that he composed the famous Yatiraja Saptati. He then reached Srirangam. There was an intense debate that took place between the Mayavadis and Swami Desikan. And to everyone's no surprise, Desikan won this debate, and Swami continued to establish Ramanuja Siddhantam. And he stayed there in Srirangam for many more months together. At this time, he composed the Bhagavad Dhyana Sopanam, which gives us this beautiful description of Perumal, Periya Perumal, from his feet until his head, from Tiruvadi to Tirumudi. He composed the Dashavatara Stotram in Dashavatara Sannadhi. He composed the Tattva Mukta Kalapam, Sarvartha Siddhi, Nyaya Parishuddhi, Nyaya Siddhanjanam, Shatatushani, just to name a few out of the multiple works that Swami composed while he was in Srirangam. While he continued to live in Srirangam, there continued to be a lot of debates that came his way. There were many Vidwans who came forward and started having discussions and debates with Swami. On one such day, there was a Vidwan by name Krishna Mishra Vidwan who called Swami for a debate. Deshikar wrote an allegorical drama called Sankalpa Suryodayam in response for this debate, which beautifully portrays the different aspects of human character and their interplay, which can lead a man towards a higher goal called moksha, or to a lower goal, the infinite loop of birth and death. Here, Sankalpa is the divine will of the compassionate God to protect humans by granting them salvation, and Suryodaya is the sunrise that dispels the inner darkness of man. The main character in this play is a man with two forces acting on him, the divine force and the demonic force, just like us. The divine forces aspire to attain salvation and do all the good deeds, whereas the demonic pull him into the unending cycle of birth and death. Desika, the mighty genius in poetry and drama, personifies these forces into kings and queens who in turn seem to be assisted by their own armies. The human qualities that drive these forces are personified as their armies. Desikan then, with his subtle wit and deep insight, portrays how these characters debate between the good and the evil propensities as he goes on to establish the divine destiny of man through all of them. It is indeed a masterpiece of Swami Desikan. The debates started to continue even more after that. There was once again a great poet named Dindima who brought his works and challenged Swami and said, "Can you compose something that could equal this particular work?" In response to that, Swami Desikan composed the biggest opus, Yadavabhyudayam. This is nothing but an illustration of Krishna's life from his birth until all the incidents that happened while he was in his Vibhava Avatara. Appaya Dikshitar, who was the great medieval scholar, appreciated Swami Desika by composing a verse in Sanskrit. In those days, it was not very often that you would find an Advaitin actually appreciating a Vishishta Advaitin's work. But on reading Yadava Abhyudayam, he completely fell in love with the work of Swami Desikan, and he even wrote the commentary for the entire work of Swami Desikan. In simple English, the appreciation given by Appaya Dikshitar was, even in the simple and soft compositions of this lion, who is the Kavitarkika Simham, lion of poetry, and lion of logic, Tarkika Simham, there is poetic excellence evident at every step he took, and indeed in every word he wrote. Such was the excellence of Swami in composing something as beautiful as Krishna's life history. Now, as we have seen many incidents in Swami's life, let's try to enjoy some of the different facets that he wore during his avataram in this Goloka. Let's look at an incident where Swami turned out to be a doctor for people in Tiruputkuri. So in a place called Tiruputkuri, there was an epidemic taking away lives of people. When Swami Desikan was in Sancharam, he happened to come to this place Looking at the suffering of people and people losing their lives, he instantly composed Sudarshana Ashtakam, which immediately brought about a relief to people and helped them overcome the epidemic. He truly turned out to be a doctor for the people in that village and made sure the epidemic did not spread any further. It does not stop with him just being a doctor. He's also a sculptor. It is a very rare combination where someone who knows medicine can also know arts. So Swami Desikan once came across a sculptor who came forward and challenged him. A sculptor offered to provide a base and asked him to make an image of Swami Desika himself. Desika made a spitting image of himself, but when the sculptor tried to fix that sculpture onto the base that he provided, he could not do so. He tried to chisel out a portion of the body of the image so that it could sit perfectly on the base. To his surprise, as he was chiseling the body of the image, on Swami Desikan's that corresponding body part, blood started oozing out. The sculptor understood what a crime he had committed by challenging Swami Desikan, who is unparalleled in whether it is medicine, whether it is kavitvam or tarkikam, or even in artistic forms like making a sculpture. Desikar, out of his compassion, then fixed the sculpture and the base and made sure that this sculpture looked like a professional output. And later, this image was installed by Desikan's own son, Nayanacharya, at Tiruvahindrapuram. Anyone who is visiting Tiruvahindrapuram, even today, can offer up prayers to Swami Desikan, Swami Desikar's murti, which was chiseled with his own hands. Now, these are some of the creative side of Swami. Now, yet again, there is another side of Swami where he is so embedded in his Vishishta Dvaita Siddhanta, but at once he was called upon to be a debate moderator between an Advaiti and a Dvaiti. And they both were, what made it even more difficult was one amongst them was Swami Desikan's childhood friend, Vidyaranya. And both of them unanimously, when they were having a debate, said that there can be only one moderator who would give a unanimous and unbiased judgment for this, and that would be Swami Desikar. So Swami Desikar was summoned and requested to be the moderator for this debate that was happening between Advaita Siddhanta and Dvaita Siddhanta. On listening to the arguments from both the sides, Swami gave a ruling impartially that Akshobhya's views, which was the Dvaita Siddhanta debater, was in accordance with the pramanas, and he declared him to be the winner. Now, yet another artistic side of Swami came about when another person came and challenged him. A mason challenged Swami Desikan to construct a well. I wonder why people of so many walks of life came and challenged Desikan. Everyone seemed to be jealous of this title that he had, that he was Sarva Tantra Swatantra. He knew everything. He knew there was everything that he could handle. And therefore, I think everyone who heard about his achievements wanted to come and challenge him to see if they were really the ones who were excelled in their own fields, or even Desikar could, challenge them in their own fields. So this mason challenged Desikar to construct a well by using bricks with uneven dimensions. Even when we are given with the perfect of bricks today, people who have studied engineering as well would struggle to create wells today, but uneven dimensional bricks were given to Swami Desikar. The Shilpa Shastra, which is an ancient treatise on arts and crafts from India, says that bricks which are uniform in size, have square corners, have a specific size, and are red in color are the best for construction. Even though the bricks given to Swami did not fulfill any of these requirements, Deshikar used his extraordinary acumen of mathematics, we should say, and architecture to arrange these bricks in a unique sequence and plastered them to form the circular periphery of the well, which can still be seen in Thiruvahindrapuram. So when we all plan a trip to Thiruvahindrapuram, we have quite a lot to watch and be amazed. That does not stop the different facets of Swami. There are many more faces that we are yet to see. Did you know that Swami Desikan was also a mathematician? This is seen in the composition called Paduka Sahasram. Let's look at the backstory of how did Paduka Sahasram come into existence. Some Vidwans challenged whether Swami Desikan can compose shlokas within a given time period of, say, 3 hours. And there was a competition that was going on in Sri Rangam between Swami Desikan and another scholar. Within 3 hours, the other scholar had composed 100 shlokas on the feet, on the Tiruvadi of Perumal. And guess what Swami Desikan had done? He had composed 1,000 pasurams or 1,000 shlokas on the padukas, on the divine sandals of Ranganatha Swami. And then he started writing down the stotras in less than 3 hours. All of these were composed with perfect arrangements, and even a fast recital of the entire Paduka Sahasram today would take about 6 hours for a person to do this, whereas Swami has composed all of this within 3 hours, and he truly earned the title of Kavitarkika Simha, which means that he's the lion amongst the poets. The other scholar truly fell to the feet of Swami and said that he surrenders at Swami's feet for his mastery and for his scholarly understanding of the Shastram, but also on his bhakti, because Valmiki himself, when he composed Ramayanam, has very little written on the Paduka Devi, whereas Swami Desikan has composed 1,008 stotras on Paduka Devi, and this is indeed a magnum opus. So where does the aspect of mathematician come in Paduka Sahasram? In the 30th chapter of his composition, Vedanta Deshikar had used several types of poetic imagery. Chaturanga Turanga Bandham was one such imagery through which the knight's tour problem had already been solved elegantly 500 years ago before Euler. So what am I talking about? In chess, apparently there is this question about what is the tour route that needs to be taken by the knight. And Swami has already solved this in the 30th chapter. The 1,000 verses of this epic is an example of literary excellence and lofty thoughts, a wonderful masterpiece of how a single subject like the Lord's sandals could be expressed in so many different ways and yet hold up the imagination and interest of the audience. Desikar showed his knowledge of the arts and sciences through other works too, like the Shilpartha Saram, which is a guide on sculpting, and Bhugola Nirnayam, a research text on the formation of the earth. These are just some of the facets of Swami that we can very visibly see from his life, but there will be many more facets which Swami would have exhibited, and these are some of the ones that we have time for today. Now, Swami did not leave behind the art of also taming the snakes. So once a snake charmer came by the way of Desikar's footpath, and he challenged Desikar that whether he can control his poisonous snakes. And Sri Desikar actually drew a line around him, and he made sure that this line acted as a protection against the snakes. Now, all the snakes of the snake charmer could not pass through this particular line that was drawn by Desikar, but one particular venomous and ferocious snake did cross the line and came forward to harm Swami. At once, Swami Desikar recited the Garuda mantram, and instantly Garuda came and took away all the snakes. The snake charmer lost his livelihood. He begged Swami Deshikar to give back his snakes, since it is the only livelihood that he is aware of. Deshikar, out of his compassion, again prayed to Garuda, and Garuda brought back all the snakes, and the snake charmer now understood that he had played with the wrong person. Now, these are some of the different faces of Swami Deshikar that we have seen. Now, let's look at how did Perumal try to play with Deshikar, and how did the camaraderie between Perumal and Deshikar work. Let's look at some of the instances in Desikar's life from a Leela perspective of Perumal. So, one particular day when Swami Deshikar was going on a kshetradanam, that is, he was going from one place to the other, he positioned himself and his Aradhana Perumal of Hayagrivar in the thinnai of a house in the night when he wanted to stay back over there. He could not get anything to offer as Amsai to Perumal for that particular day, and hence he just offered some water to the Lord with a heavy heart and went to bed with an empty stomach. Suddenly, he was awakened by the landlord of that house in whose thinnai he was sleeping, and they reported that a white horse was eating the grains in his stores. Swami understood that it was the Leela of Hayagriva and comforted the house owner. He asked the landlord to bring some milk and offered it to his Upasana Murti, being Hayagriva. Thereupon, the horse disappeared from the fields and the grains were restored. Next morning, when the landlord went to the shop, he saw there that all sacks of grains were fully laden with gold. He offered to Swami, but as usual, Swami being a Vairagya Shikhamani, he refused all of this and he only blessed the landlord for offering him the place to stay at night. Such was the Leela of Hayagriva, where he wanted to show how he plays around with Deshikar, but at the end of the day, blesses everyone who comes in touch with Deshikar. Another such instance happened in Kanchipuram itself. Once a young boy wanted some money for his marriage. In olden days, the practice was very different and in fact opposite to what is being practiced until a decade ago. So until a decade ago, we see that there is, if someone wants to marry a girl, the girl has to pay the boy a dowry in order to get married. But as per Shastram, the boy has to give a Kanya Shulkam to the girl to get her in marriage with him. So this particular boy wanted to give some Kanya Shulkam for him to get married, but he came from an extremely poor background. So he went around the city in Kanchipuram asking for alms. And a particular set of people who were not very favorable of Deshikar very tauntingly asked this boy to go and ask Deshikar and said that he's the most wealthiest person in whole of Kanchipuram. So why don't you go and ask him? He will definitely have so much to offer you that you can give as Kanya Shulkam. This was all done just to embarrass Swami because they very well know that he was living out of Uncha Vritti. The boy did not know about the evil intention of the jealous people though, and he went to Swami Deshikar for financial help. We all know that Deshikar is not having any money, but he looked at the young boy, and because his intentions were pure, he went to Perandevi Tayar Sannadhi and started reciting Sri Stuti, which was an immediate composition that he did on the spot. And to his surprise, to the boy's surprise, not for Desikar's surprise, Sri Devi Tayar was extremely impressed with the Sri Stuti composition of Swami, and she showered a rain of gold coins. Swami Deshikar thanked Tayar for her mercy and told the boy to take as much as he wants, and he did not take even a coin for himself. The jealous people were shocked at this incident and came running to seek the pardon of Swami Deshikar. It is indeed true that you shouldn't be messing up with a learned person. Another incident happened while Swami was trying to offer the annual ceremony, Shraddham, for his parents in his own house. So many Brahmanas refused to come for the annual rites of his parents, and especially there were no Brahmanas who volunteered to come for eating on the occasion of the summer ceremony. But Swami, with an extremely determined mind, He did not lose heart. He put the plantain leaf and served all the items and prayed to the Lord. And in place of the Brahmanas, there were three very esteemed Perumal Swarupam that came in and honored the prasadam from the Shraddam. It was none other than Lord Devaraja Perumal of Kanchipuram, Lord Hayagrivar, and Lord Srinivasa from Tirupati. They came in person and partook the offering on the occasion, to the astonishment of the whole place who had denied to partake in this particular ceremony. They were indeed totally surprised that Perumal himself came here to bless Swami. Now, we've seen immense number of situations where Swami Deshikar has handled all of these situations with a lot of bhakti and a lot of patience and determination. And it shows his complete surrender at the feet of the Divya Dampati. But let's look at what are some of the difficult situations that were particularly thrown at Swami and how did he handle them? Maybe that's a lesson for all of us on how do we endure difficulties in our life. The number of people who continued to be jealous of Swami Desikan continued. A few envious scholars wanted to insult him. They strung a few shoes as a garland just outside Swami Desikar's house. Who would even dare to do something like this to a scholar or even to any human being? When Desika came out of his house the next day, the shoes hit his head. The scholars felt that Desika would become angry at being insulted. But instead, you know what Desikar did? He exclaimed in great joy and said that, oh, this is indeed Bhagavatottama's Tiruvadi, which has blessed his Tirumudi, right? So he said, what good fortune do I have that the sandals of great devotees of the Lord have blessed me by touching my head. Incidents from Desikar's life teach us how he followed what he preached, and he was totally surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord in a mood of utmost humility and detachment at all times. So, yet another incident which is extremely grueling is the incident that happened in Srirangam. This was in the year 1327. The Srirangam city was invaded by Malik Kafur, the general of Alauddin Khilji, who wanted to loot the temple and destroy its deities. Swami Desikar and Pillai Lokacharya were determined in making sure that the Sampradayam prevailed, but most importantly, Ranganatha Swami and Namperumal's Murti were protected. Desikar hid the main deity of the temple behind a newly built wall. They had to build an entirely new wall in order to protect Perumal. And we all know how long and magnificent Ranganathar's Mula Vigraham is. And they had to do all of this within a few hours of hearing the news that they're going to come here to loot the deities. And they placed a duplicate deity in front of this wall that was newly built. The smaller festival deity, which is the Utsavar, was carried by Pillai Lokacharya, and he was extremely old at that point in time. He was beyond his 90s. And he carried this Utsavar Namperumal to Tirupati, where it was worshipped secretly for many years. Back in Srirangam, Desikar wanted to protect rare manuscripts like the Shruta Prakashika. Shruta Prakashika is the Bhashyam or the commentary that was written by Sudarshana Suri when he was in the Kalakshebam of Nadadu Rammal. So this is the Bhashyam that is given to Ramanuja's Sri Bhashyam, and it is such an important treatise. If we did not have this Shruta Prakashika today, how would we understand Sri Bhashyam and what was running in Ramanuja's mind when he was writing all of these commentary for the Sutrams, right? So Desikar actually not only protected these manuscripts, but he also protected the sons of Sudarshana Suri. And you know how he did that? Because they were being attacked from all sides. The only way Swami Desikar could have escaped this situation was to to lay still amidst dead bodies. And he did that. Swami Deshikar, we all know, is someone who is an epitome of Anushtanam. And if it took him to lie between dead bodies in order to protect our Sampradayam, to protect the treatises that are available as of today, and to protect the sons of Sudarshana Surya, Maha Vaishnava Acharya, this is how much our Acharyas have gone over and beyond to bring all of this knowledge to us. Because what is important is for us to have the knowledge of our Sampradaya, to have the knowledge of how does the God protect us? Only with this knowledge can we understand, are we being protected when we are in times of difficulty, or are we being protected when we are in times of being joyous in this material world? So all of this was done by Desikar and many other acharyas to bring all of this sampradayam intact to all of us so that we could lead our way to Vaikuntham and not be stuck in this cycle of birth and death. They escaped with the rare manuscripts to Karnataka and they landed in Melkote. 12 years Swami spent his life in Melkote and Satyakalam, and that is when he composed the Abhiti Stavam. He was not able to control his separation from Sri Rangam Perumal. He would actually look in the direction of Sri Rangam from Satyakala and yearn for the things to get, for the situation in Sri Rangam to get better. And he composed Abhiti Stavam right there for the situation in Sri Rangam to get better and for everybody to lead a Nirbhaya life in Sri Rangam. And Perumal definitely answered his prayers. There was one general, Gopanna of the Vijayanagara Empire, who defeated the invaders and he restored the city of Sri Rangam to its previous glory. Swami Desikan then came back to Sri Rangam and he brought back the rituals as it was laid out by Swami Ramanuja. Now, that was not the end of all the difficulties that Desikar faced. There was yet another difficulty. There was a whole particular sect of people who came into the temple and said that we will not allow the chanting of your Divya Prabandhams going forward because this was composed by Nammalvar, who we don't even know what was his caste that he was born into. None of these Alvars, other than a few that we can name, are actually of Brahmin origin. So there was a massive condemnation on the chanting of Divya Prabandhams. And Swami Desikan had never-ending debates with them, made them understand that this is Veda Saram and this is no less than the Samskrita Vedam that we have. And he had to fight debates with them to make them understand the importance of Divya Prabandha, and he restored the Divya Prabandham Santai and Divya Prabandham chanting and Parayanam within the temple. And he also installed the deities of the 12 Alvar saints for worship within the temple. So today, if we are all able to go into Sri Rangam and be able to enjoy the Alvars and enjoy the Divya Prabandham, that is indeed a treasure that's been left to us by our Acharya Paramparai. There is a significant role that has been played by Swami Desikan in restoring all of this. So we see that there was so many difficulties that were inflicted on Swami Desikan. But what's important for us to know out of all of these is he had this unflinching faith in Perumal. And at no point in time did he think selfishly about himself. He was always aware of his Swarupa Jnanam, that Perumal is the Sarvaseshi, and we are all Paratantriya to Perumal, right? So this knowledge is the most important knowledge that for all of us to have. And once we have this knowledge, then we understand the plays and the leelas that Perumal is doing around our lives. And this is the biggest learning that we all can get from Swami Desikan's life, that no matter what difficulty was thrown upon him, He had complete faith, Mahavishwasam in Perumal. He knew what he need to do as an instrument to the Lord, and there was no sense of what I need to do, but it was more about what should be done for the welfare of the sampradayam, what should be done for the welfare of the people. And he truly um, was someone who only carried the sampradayam on his shoulders and has brought it intact for all of us. We all should have a sense of gratitude, immense gratitude for Swami Deshikar. And as his Tirnakshatram is coming, what we all could do as a small offering is understand the treatises that he has written. He has composed Rahasya Saram, he has composed Chillare Rahasyam. All of these give us the medicine as to how could we lead a joyous life in this material world. And though we are in samsaram, how do we lead a very, very beautiful life by understanding Swarupa Jnana and getting rid of our virodhis like ahankaram and mamakaram and be a very good instrument to the Lord. So as a small request for all of us who are listening to this is our opportunity to learn such works of Swami Deshikar. In SRG School of Vedanta, we are extremely blessed that Usha Narasimhan Mami conducts classes and Kalakshepam for us in a very, very lucid manner, where she explains all of this to us in Tamil, in English, or in any language that is comfortable for us to understand. And she also quotes examples from day-to-day life that makes it so much easier for us to understand all of these treatises and bring it into practice. And when we bring it into practice, what we get is Parama Anandam, and that is nothing less of the bliss that we all would get in Vaikuntha. Now, for a person who has done so much for our Sampradayam, titles would not mean nothing for him. And the number of titles that's conferred on Swami is very, very little. Today, for all the works that's happening in today's world, definitely people get recognized more. But what was special was Swami was recognized by Perumal and Tayar themselves. And I think that is the epitome of recognition. So he got the title of Sarva Tantra Swatantra from Ranganayaki Tayar herself. And that translates into there is nothing that he is not aware of, and he's a master of everything under this world. He was conferred upon Vedanta Deshika by Lord Ranganatha himself. He has many other titles like the Kavitarkika Simha, Kavitarkika Kesari, which we see in his Taniyan. We also see Ramanuja Dayapatram, which means that his avataram itself is because of the blessing of Swami Ramanuja himself. Of course, here Ramanuja, the word Ramanuja, the name Ramanuja also implies Swami Appullar, who was his maternal uncle and his own Acharyan. And he is Kalyana Gunashali. Through all of the incidents that we have seen in the previous episode and today, it is indeed very evident that he is an epitome of compassion. He has all the Kalyana Gunas that we can see in Perumal and Tayar themselves. And we are indeed blessed to have him as our Acharya. Now, how did Swami's last days in this avataram happen? Let's look at that. In his later days of his life, Swami composed the magnum opus of Rahasya Saram. Now, I know I spoke a little bit about it already, but then it's important for us to know what is this treatise. Swami was a prolific writer, right? He wrote well over 100 works. His magnum opus is the Rahasya Saram, which is in Mani Pravala style. Now, Swami has mastered the Vedas. He knows everything inside out. But for people who don't understand Sanskrit, for people who don't understand the deep Tamil prabandhams, he wrote this in a very simple Mani Pravala style, quoting only from the Puranas, or from Ramayana, or from Mahabharata, so that it's accessible to every common man. So Mani Pravala is a mixture of Sanskrit and Tamil, which makes it very easy for a person to understand. And he has explained in a very inimitable manner the Tattva, Hita, and Purushartha of our Sampradaya, as well as the significance of the three Maha mantras of Ashtakshara, Dvaya, and Charama Shloka. This Rahasya Trayasaram is reckoned as one of the 4 works that any Sri Vaishnava should study, and the other 3 being Sri Bhashya of Swami Ramanujar, Gita Bhashyam of Swami Ramanujar, and Bhagavat Vishayam commentary, which is a commentary to the Tiruvaimozhi. So Rahasya Trayasaram is it's indeed, as I said, the medicine that it's a very sweet medicine, which shows us the way to leading a very healthy and a beautiful life, not just for the body, but for the soul. So in his last days, Swami was living at the age of 101. He had fulfilled all the wishes of Perumal and Pirati. The avatara requirements of him descending onto this earth was completed. So Swami Deshikar decided to cast his body, and praying to Swami Ramanujar and Appullar, and by placing their padukas on his head, which he kept on the lap of his son. He kept his Tirumudi on the lap of his son Kumara Varadacharya, and he kept his Tiruvadi on the lap of Brahma Tantra Swatantra Jiyar, who was the first Jiyar who established the Parakala Matham. He was the disciple of Swami Desikan himself, and all of his Sishyas chanted Tiruvaimozhi and Upanishads, and Swami decided to ascend to Paramapadam. He attained Paramapadam in the year called Saumya Varsham, in the month of Kartigai, in the asterism of Kartigai, which is Tirumangai Alvar, Kaliyan's asterism, and this happened in the year 1369. It was indeed a day that brought about tears in all of his Sishyas, but Swami Desikan is present amidst us even today in all of his works. He has given us immense number of stotras for people who don't have the ability to get mantra diksha from their acharyas. We have Swami who has embedded the mantras within the stotras that he has written. Hayagriva Stotra has the mantra written within it. The Gopala Vimshati has the Gopala mantra embedded within it. So many stotras that Swami has composed for us to understand that the true path for a Sri Vaishnava to take is to surrender at the feet of the Divya Dampati. And it is indeed told in our Shastras that in order to be born into a Sri Vaishnava family or to become a Sri Vaishnava, it only happens after thousands and thousands and thousands of birth. And when we have this opportunity in this life, let's all prostrate at the feet of Swami Desikan and pray to him that may he lead us in the right path towards surrender, and for us to lead a life of total surrender to Perumal and Pirati, and lead a life where we are able to be a good instrument for them to be able to carry out what they want us to carry out in this material world. So from listening to Swami's life history, there are a lot of takeaways for us, but just to name a few, there are 5 takeaways that Adian can think of. The first outstanding takeaway is definitely the unshakable faith and surrender that he demonstrated. He lived the ideal life of a prapanna. How should a prapanna lead his life? This is so evident when we listen to Swami Desikan's life. He showed that devotion and trust in God can overcome every challenge, right? The second learning is a selfless service. He used his knowledge, his writings and debates only to protect and spread Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and never for his personal gain or fame. He never attached himself to any of the accolades that he got. The third learning is connected to this, but yet again, very profound: detachment and contentment. Practicing detachment in today's material world is extremely difficult. Despite all the poverty, he never compromised on dharma, living a life of simplicity and integrity while being spiritually extremely rich. And amidst all of this, he was totally detached from all the material requirements in the society. He is an intelligent scholar par excellence. His works in Sanskrit, Tamil, and Prakrita Bhasha prove that faith and reason can go hand in hand, inspiring us to think deeply and live wisely, and yet with humility. That's the deadly combination that we see in Swami, that he's someone who is so brilliant but extremely humble. And the last but not the least, which Adian would like to take away, is his compassion and inclusiveness. He made spiritual knowledge accessible to all, similar to Swami Ramanujar, who went from street to street, making Sri Vaishnavism, making it available for everybody, irrespective of whatever background they came from. Swami Deshikar walked the same path, teaching that everyone, regardless of status, can attain moksha through devotion and through prapatti. It's an extremely profound charitram for all of us to be hearing. And Adian is extremely fortunate to have this opportunity to have read through Swami Desikan's life, to have listened to multiple discourses on Swami Desikan's life. And it has been an extremely humbling experience for me to present this. I thank my Acharyan, Srimati Usha Narasimhan Mami, and Soumya Rajagopal for giving this opportunity to Adian. And any mistakes that I have done is only because of my inability. And any right word that came out of Adian's mouth is only because of Acharya Anugraham. In the following episodes, we will learn about the birth of Pillayandadi, what is the avatarike of Pillayandadi, and we will have the bhagyam of enjoying a verse by verse meaning and a word by word meaning in English, which is a work of my Acharya Srimati Usha Narasimhan Mami. She has translated a word by word meaning for all of us to enjoy, and Adian will be presenting this in the upcoming episodes. कवितार्किक सिंहाय कल्याण गुणशालिनी श्रीमते वेंकटेशाय वेदांत गुरवे नमः श्रीमते निगमांत महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते गोपाल देशिक महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते अनंतरंगार्य महादेशिकाय नमः श्रीमते श्रीवंश षडगोप श्री रंगनाथ यतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः. धन्यवाद.